Welcome, ladies and gents. The final qualifying session of the season is done in Abu Dhabi, and well, that had everything, that session, didn't it? Just some updates before, if you're not aware, before the session, the penalties. Charles Leclerc disastrously got a 10-place grid penalty for changing a battery which failed in FP1. Both Williams will also get 5-place grid penalties for going over their engine limits. And let's just jump straight into Q1. Jack Doohan will start last for Alpine. I'm not sure it'll affect too much potentially for Alpine, but the Haas has done well, so that decision to replace Ocon could really bite them hard, isn't it, with Jack Doohan last. I mean, he probably will move up a couple of places, won't he? So the benefit of the 2 Williams penalties and the penalty of Charles Leclerc. Franco Colapinto, 19th, disappointing session for Williams. They weren't quick. The big shock here, though, Lewis Hamilton will start P18. He'll be moving up a couple of places because of the penalty for Charles Leclerc and Albon ahead of him. But yeah, 18th for Lewis Hamilton. He got really unlucky, didn't he? He came on the radio and said, "Oh, I messed that up," but actually when you look back, he got a bollard stuck under the front of the car, just clipped in front of him. The timing just couldn't been any, you couldn't write it, could you, for Lewis Hamilton in his final Grand Prix. Just the bad luck of the whole season has been like that. It does remind me, but though, a little bit of Schumacher in 2006 when he was coming to an end of his reign of being the great, and this kind of feels like that for Lewis Hamilton, where things just would usually never go wrong are now going wrong. It just clipped right in front of him, the bollard got stuck, and then he lost all the time in the final sector, and that meant he was out. Otherwise he was up on his time and would have made it into Q2, but wasn't to be. Zhou Guanyu in 17th, Alex Albon 16th to round off a disappointing session for the Williams. Like I say, the 2 Williams will start at the back, as well as Charles Leclerc with that 10-place penalty. We'll get to him next. Q2, and Kevin Magnussen out P15. He'll be disappointed because his teammate has done a fantastic job again, right up there, but he's got all to do to try and get some points home for the Haas team and potentially overhaul the points difference between them and Alpine. Let's see what they can do, or he can do tomorrow, crucially. It'll be interesting for both of them. And Charles Leclerc, P14. I mean, he's got that 10-place grid penalty, so will effectively start last. And he got a lap time deleted. We've seen that happen a number of times. He was, he pulled it off on the last lap, didn't he? Got him to P1, but the track limit is deleted, and it's just gone so horribly wrong, this race for Charles Leclerc and Ferrari, hasn't it? Where it needed to be perfect for them to get a 1-2 and then potentially try and help them overhaul the points difference to McLaren. It looks like a massively tough job for them to do. Never say never, anything can happen in Formula 1 and in racing, but if it's just a normal standard race, yeah, it's going to be a tough one for Ferrari, isn't it? Lance Stroll lands up in 13th, Lawson 12th. He was disappointed, and Yuki Tsunoda beats Lawson in the last qualifying session of the season, P11. The star of that session was Valteri Bottas. He was P9, and Nico Hulkenburg P3 in that session. Q3, and well, jumping straight to the front, it's a McLaren 1-2. Lando, Norris, Oscar Piastri 1 and 2. To be honest, it didn't look like they had the pace in Q1 and Q2 to pull that off, but when it came down to Q3, they both pulled off brilliant laps. Lando Norris took pole position by 2/10 from his teammate, but in behind it was close, wasn't it? Carlos Sainz, not much in it between him and Oscar Piastri, just missed out. But the star of the session, Nico Hulkenburg, a P4, 800ths just off potentially getting into second place, a front row start. He was on provisional pole at one point in that lap, and it just looked absolutely tremendous for him to pull that off. That has been quick in his hands, and be all eyes on him to potentially bring up some big points for the Haas team. And can they overhaul Alpine? It'll be all interesting to see. Max Verstappen, who was looking mega, didn't he? He was so quick in Q2. Did one lap and was at the back of the garage having a break, wasn't he? A rest and a coffee before he went out for Q3. Lines up 5th. He was saying the balance was all over the place on his final run. Pierre Gasly, a pretty solid job for Alpine, just in P6, so just 2 places behind Haas, doing what he kind of needs to do for the team there, doesn't he? George Russell in 7th. It tops off a disappointing qualifying session for Mercedes, who actually normally come good when the temperatures drop, but it hasn't been for them, has it? FP3 looks strong for them. Lewis Hamilton was third, but Russell hasn't quite been at the races. He lines up directly behind his nemesis and angry man Max Verstappen. Doesn't it? Them two verbal exchanges, we'll be seeing on-track exchanges tomorrow. Let's see. 8th place for Fernando Alonso. I think it's a decent job from him in that Aston Martin. He's done pretty well, hasn't he, over the last couple of races. Last time out he picked up some good points. And another star of this session, Valtteri Bottas, a P9. Yes, Sauber makes it into Q3. I think that was the first time all season. Finally, Valtteri is not on the last place on the grid. He actually beat Sergio Perez, which just shocking how bad Sergio Perez has been. He's been beaten by a Sauber. Perez will line up in P10. But yeah, two brilliant performances. One for Valtteri for P9 and Nico Hulkenburg P4. Can Valtteri hold on and finally get a point this season so he doesn't end the season pointless? He's got some pretty fast guys up behind coming through, hasn't he? So I think he'll have a tough job holding on to that, but never say never. You never know what's going to happen in Formula 1 and racing. But yeah, McLaren look in the box seat to finally clinched the Constructors' Championship for the first time since 1998. A 1-2, the perfect start for them for the race tomorrow. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, my predictions went right out the window, didn't I? I had Leclerc on pole, Verstappen second and Norris third. And they went right out the window because Leclerc was never going to get P1, was he, with that 10 place grid up penalty straight off the bat in FP1, but I didn't see a McLaren 1-2 coming at all. But they've done an absolutely brilliant job, the pair of them, and let's see if they can hold on for a 1-2 in the race tomorrow. Carlos Sainz right in the hunt behind him, so he'll be hoping that their race pace is good. So we've got a mixed grid, so it should be absolutely brilliant. It's some plenty of overtaking. It's the last race of the season. A lot of guys, not really an awful lot to lose, and just we should get some, you know, good tense racing. Can't wait for the action to get started. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe and comment as always. See you next time.